Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to your Lunch Break Live. My name's Ivana Herrenhue if you're new here, and if you're not, thank you for coming back. Today is Tuesday, August the 10th. We're a few minutes late here because Ben and I could not stop talking about The Bachelorette. So if you need that content, let me know and I will give it to you. But this might be a familiar face and maybe a familiar voice if you listen to the Outbreak Alabama podcast. But today I am joined by our own Ben Flanagan, and Ben is here today to talk about an upcoming festival this weekend, and that is the Rock the South Festival. Now, we're going to get into the kind of nitty gritty of that, when, where, why, etc. But one thing that we should note is that Rock the South is still on. We know there are other festivals, other concerts, especially in some of our southern neighbors, state neighbors, I should say, that have been canceled. Rock the South is still on. So we're going to talk about that today, what they're doing about COVID and this rapidly spreading Delta variant, and a couple of other kind of topics there. So Ben, thank you for coming on today, for breaking us down here. I know it's only Tuesday, but people kind of start making their plans for this a few days in advance.
Yeah, Rock the South is a huge deal up there in Cullman where it takes place. This is a very popular annual festival. It's had major country and southern rock artists like in the past, like Luke Bryan has played, Dierks Bentley, Florida Georgia Line, Eric Church. I mean, you name it, they've probably played there. And this year is no different. I mean, they've got headliners like Miranda Lambert, Luke Combs, a lot of big names in the industry.
That is to say, I'm going to, again, you said Miranda Lambert is on there. I believe Luke Combs. There was a headliner that ended up dropping out of the festival. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Leonard Skinner, one of Alabama's favorite bands, obviously was originally booked as one of the co-headliners of the festival. But this past weekend, they announced that a member in the band has contracted COVID-19. So they had to cancel a lot of their immediate shows, including Rock the South. But Rock the South organizers acted pretty quickly, and they booked the Marshall Tucker Band as a new co-headliner. And so live music fans in Alabama probably know that the Marshall Tucker Band actually played Oak Mountain Amphitheater this past weekend with the band Alabama. So maybe the Marshall Tucker Band gets to chill in Alabama for a week before they play this weekend at Rock the South.
So again, Leonard Skinner dropped out due to a member contracting COVID. Hope they're doing okay, and being replaced with the Marshall Tucker bands this weekend. So Ben, give us this kind of lowdown. When does it start? Is it Friday, Saturday, etc.? And also, what is being done regarding coronavirus protocols? Now, if you've never been to Rock the South, it is an open air event, something that is kind of based on a lot of different, think about Jazz Fest, you think about the old city stages or the old Crawfish Boil in Birmingham, just an open air, multi-stage kind of festival. So what can we expect in regards to coronavirus precautions there?
Yeah, so the festival takes place Friday and Saturday. That's August 13th and 14th. It's going to take place on a 140-acre property off of County Road 469 in Cullman. This is a new addition this year is that fans can camp. You can park in an RV out at this site. The stage will be bigger, so there's going to be these huge LED walls and screens so that you can see everything. But in terms of COVID, look, the 2020 Rock the South Festival was obviously canceled due to the pandemic. And in April 2020, organizers announced that they would try to reschedule for June 2021, but they obviously had to push that back to this weekend. So if you go to the Rock the South frequently asked questions page, the FAQ page on their festival website, they say that they are currently following Alabama CDC guidelines for the 2021 festival. Now, currently, there have been no changes in regards to state requirements for outdoor events, according to their website. But the site says, quote, "We encourage all our attendees to make their own personal necessary precautions when attending Rock the South." Now, just to be clear, according to the CDC, they consider a crowded outdoor event like a live performance safe for unvaccinated people, but one of the least safe things for unvaccinated people, something that they can do right now, and they certainly recommend wearing a mask. And the latest Rock the South press release states, quote, "Event organizers encourage attendees to review updated policies and procedures prior to their arrival. The event's website will include full details on protocols that the city of Cullman and Rock the South event staff are enacting to provide a great event." So currently, the Rock the South website only says what I said earlier about basically fans need to take their own precautions when they come to the event, but there are no hard restrictions when it comes to COVID when you go to Rock the South. But in the days leading up, you might want to check the Rock the South website, their social media, check our website. We will do some reporting leading up to this event too on any sort of COVID changes there might be and restrictions. But currently, they basically say, take care of yourself.
So to kind of recap that, there is no mask requirement for Rock the South. There is no requirement for maybe a negative COVID test, for vaccination, anything like that to enter into Rock the South.
No, right now, masks are optional from what I can tell, according to Rock the South's website and what I've heard so far. So again, no hard restrictions. If you want to wear a mask, you can certainly wear a mask. If you want to distance when you're in there, you can certainly distance. So yeah, that's the way it is right now until further notice, Ivana.
Well, and we know we did this with schools. Actually, I was talking to somebody from our Alabama Education Lab yesterday, and we had this discussion 2 weeks ago and said there's only 3 or 4 school districts requiring masks. Fast forward that, and it is 1 in 3 Alabama school districts. So it is possible that between today, Tuesday, and Friday, that changes.
Yeah, things happen fast, obviously, with COVID. I mean, we learn something new every day. And in fact, medical experts have told us, many of our reporters, that especially with the Delta variant and how infectious it is, and just with COVID in general, medical experts are learning new things every day. And so the thinking changes and the decision-making changes in terms of how guidelines change. And that's literally a day-to-day situation.
Well, and you talk about that day-to-day situation. We know that we could see changes again on Friday or anytime between now and Friday. But as of now, no real COVID policies are in place. As you said, it's kind of up to the individual concert goer. So yes. Ben, I think that it's something that we need to touch on is what you mentioned a minute ago, is that medical experts have been telling us, telling people in general, and then telling our reporters specifically about events, about the Delta variant, what we know, and about the science that we know. Again, we know things come out every day, but as of what we know today, Tuesday, the 10th of August, what do you know and what experts have you talked to about attending an event like this?
Yeah, and so in cases like this, we always like to talk to medical experts, whether that's doctors, public health officials, state health officials, or otherwise. So UAB is obviously a great resource for that. I spoke to Dr. Mukesh Patel. He's an associate professor of medicine in the Division of Infectious Diseases at UAB. Also a self-proclaimed music lover, somebody who really loves music, really loves attending live music, and he's been a great source for us on this topic. And he told me back in January that live music environments obviously present so many risks for COVID-19 transmission. And we talked about a few things that people should consider before going to any concert. And most recently, when I reached out to him again, he told me that while there was some light at the end of the tunnel in terms of like the return of live music, it seemed like live music was reasonable if we were taking certain precautions, but the numbers being what they are in Alabama, which are climbing in terms of case numbers, in terms of hospitalizations, things have changed, and according to him, have gone in a very concerning direction. And like I mentioned before, with all of these changes, medical experts, they continue to learn new things about COVID-19 and infections that could lead to new opinions that subsequently lead to new guidelines for public events like concerts or festivals, specifically with the Delta variant, which he says has just completely changed everything. I'm sure people who watch your show, Ivana, they know that this strain is very infectious, whether you're vaccinated or not. According to Dr. Patel and other medical experts, transmission can still occur. But Dr. Patel obviously pointed out that vaccination is still very important in limiting the severity of infection. But specifically as it relates to concerts and festivals, I asked him straight up, is right now a bad time to go to a concert or have a festival like this? And he said, if you hold a concert, whether it's indoors or outdoors, people do not often and really cannot socially distance, right? Like it gets crowded at concerts. They're there to escape. They're there to have fun. You may have seen photos and video from Lollapalooza recently where you just saw this sea of thousands of people just all crammed together like you would normally see at a festival like that. But Dr. Patel said that while we thought that outdoor festivals might offer a degree of safety due to the open air nature of events like that, the Delta may still pose a significant threat to concert goers who are standing shoulder to shoulder. So there are some risks.
And especially you look at something like Rock the South, you look at some of those names, Miranda Lambert. I know I love Miranda Lambert, love listening to her music. I can imagine people want to get as close as possible, right? That's just the nature of a concert. That's the nature of an event like this. You look at, I know Jazz Fest has been canceled in New Orleans, but you look at the Rolling Stones who are set to play there that Wednesday night. People are going to be trying to get to that front of the stage. And when you do that, you just run into people. You shoulder nudge people trying to get to the front. That's just kind of the name of the game. So, Ben, it's interesting you mentioned earlier that there are screens now at Rock the South. So maybe if you do want to see the music, you wouldn't necessarily have to bump your way to the front.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what I would do, right? Like I try to play it as safe as I can. Like I would probably wear a mask at a big crowded event like this. Certainly would try to keep the distance as best I could. I know that I would be in the venue seeing somebody great. And if a screen makes it a little bit easier for me to see that, then all the better. But I asked Dr. Patel straight up again, what if somebody is going to one of these shows, like in spite of all these warnings or risks? And he said, if you go, he strongly recommends that you complete a course of vaccination prior to attending. And if there are crowded indoor settings at the concert, wearing a mask is, in quote, absolute necessity. And he said that's the case even in outdoor settings too, where, like we just said, social distancing isn't really possible. So you just have to do your best to stay safe.
Well, and I will tell you before COVID, in the before times, right, getting to the front at some of those concerts was definitely a personal talent that I have. I have not exercised that talent here in a little bit. Hopefully one day we can. But Ben, I do think it's quick, just a quick kind of note. Again, I mentioned Jazz Fest being canceled, Rock the South still on. What other concerts, what other festivals do we know of in Alabama and across the South, the Southeast that have been canceled due to COVID recently?
Yeah, as numbers continue to spike in various parts of the country, it seemed like it wasn't a matter of if, but really when touring bands would cancel or postpone. And look, several big acts have performed in Alabama, like the band Alabama, Fish, Brad Paisley, ZZ Top, these big touring acts who have continued. The show has gone on, so to speak, and we haven't seen many cancellations in our state at all. But nationally, we are starting to see several artists canceling shows. We mentioned Leonard Skinner, Tesla, Limp Bizkit, REO Speedwagon, Fall Out Boy, and now I think recently Counting Crows. And a lot of these, Ivana, are because members of the bands have tested positive for COVID themselves, so they cannot perform even if they wanted to. So in some cases, it's canceling shows with the hope that they'll be able to resume their tours after the quarantine window. And then another element to this that's really interesting to me is, like, we've seen a prominent Alabama musician like Jason Isbell go very public with his feelings about slowing the spread of COVID-19 at his live shows anyway. He says he will require proof of vaccination or proof of a negative test. So either you can't attend those shows if you can't produce either one of those things, or he will not perform if a venue does not allow those restrictions. So a lot of moving parts in terms of live music as it relates to the entire country, but Alabama specifically. We haven't seen a lot of cancellations in Alabama yet. I'm not saying that we won't see those, but as of right now, most concerts are going on as planned.
Well, and as we have mentioned before here, this is just kind of a moving target. Something can be true today and it could have changed by tomorrow. So things are changing every day. We are just taking that news as it comes. I know that we have more of that Jason Isbell coverage that you just mentioned on our website at AL.com. And Ben, I know you will keep everybody up to date with all of the Rock the South information online as well.
Yes, for sure. And I just hope everybody stays safe out there when going to events like this.
Absolutely. Stay safe. And if you can't go, remember, you've got tons of places you can watch that music online, YouTube, Spotify, etc. So
you can also stream The Bachelorette too, Ivana, and catch up on the big finale last night. I need to do that. You can. If you need to talk about that, DM me. I've got you. I have a lot of feelings. Ben hasn't watched. Don't spoil it here. Don't you come in these comments and spoil it. Everybody watching, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And Ben, again, thank you so much. Keep us updated, and we will see everybody tomorrow.